Hello, everybody. This is Terri Williams with Remax Preferred.
And Kim Aldridge with Remax Preferred. So, Terri, who's our guest today?
Kim, our guest today is Jo Schultheiss. Jo is with the real estate firm here in Sevierville, and Jo's going to talk to us tonight about short-term rentals. Jo, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much, Terri. Glad to be with you tonight.
Absolutely. Well, I know that short-term rentals is certainly a popular thing in our neck of the woods. And tell us all about that and how someone would get started into that if they, happen to have a property that they would like to put on Airbnb, for example.
Sure. Well, the Smoky Mountains is pretty unique in that we have about 14 million visitors who come and join us here in our beautiful area every year. So we have a very unique opportunity because our rental season is almost a 365-day per year attraction here in the Smoky Mountains. So 14 million guests can't be wrong, right, Terri?
No, absolutely not. We're doing something right.
Indeed. So it's a wonderful place for investors to come, and we know that people enjoy coming to the Smoky Mountains, and we've got folks who come here generation after generation, and there's always something for every type of guest, whether it's the kids who come to enjoy lots of things to do from all kinds of games and such. We've got lots of shopping, lots of restaurants. We've got folks who come to enjoy honeymoons and get married, and even folks who come for the fall season with the leaves and all in between. So there's pretty much something for everyone in the Smoky Mountains.
Yes, absolutely. And the beauty about living here, Jo, you can come to the Smokies and you can spend a lot of money if you want to, but you can almost spend no money if you want to just simply take a hike and enjoy everything that nature has to offer.
Yeah, I think that's probably, again, what makes us so special is that people who come here to enjoy nature have the Great Smoky Mountain National Forest. People love to come fishing, to enjoy the lakes in the area, and really just go sightseeing, whether it's butterflies or wildflowers. All of that can be a very economical visit. And then you've got everything from Dollywood to Anarquista and wonderful restaurants. So everything in between. It really can fit all budgets and all types of tastes.
Yes, absolutely.
And one of the other really nice things about the convenience of coming to our area is almost 50% of the U.S. population can drive here within 8 hours. And isn't that pretty wonderful when everybody wants to stay away from airports and cruise lines nowadays, so that you can hop in your car and come to the Smoky Mountains and really take advantage of what wonderful tourism and attractions that we have locally.
Well, Jo, that's true. And, and that's pretty sweet to only be, 8-9 hours from home and be able to drive here and not have to fool with the airport mess and the expense of that anymore. Yes, gas is a little higher than what it was a year ago, for example, but it's still affordable.
Definitely, yeah. And we've got folks who like to be really close to the city and attractions, and we've got places in Pigeon Forge that are really easy to get to, that are accessible, and even maybe the one level, so grandparents or strollers or people that need accessibility to be very convenient. We've got places like that. And we've got other locations in the mountains of Gatlinburg where, if you don't mind driving our windy, steep roads to get to those amazing, breathtaking 360-degree views on the mountaintops, you can go there too, and everything in between. So again, it's a taste for everybody. We've got a great variety and lots of things to enjoy.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Jo, if someone wants to get started in the overnight rental business, what do they need to do other than buy the perfect dwelling, either from someone like yourself or someone like me or Kim, what do they need to do once they've got that property?
Yeah, one of the things that is a recent change to our area is in 2024, the County of Sevier, the Fire Marshal Department, had wanted to make sure that all the guests coming to our area are going to be safe and well taken care of. So they implemented a permit program for the properties that are in the County of Sevier, and that was really focused in on safety. I know I've heard some terrible stories about decks falling down or things like that in Florida, or things that could really turn a vacation into a tragedy. We don't want that kind of thing here. So the fire marshal has been very vigilant in going through and making sure those properties are going to be safe for our guests.
You don't want to come
And
to
that was
ground?
something that was
Yeah, the kitchen.
implemented
Yeah, are you
just
cooking?
recently.
And that's fantastic. That really is fantastic.
Yeah, they've done a pretty phenomenal job of going from cabin to cabin. And so every short-term rental owner would apply for the permit status. They come in for an inspection, and those inspectors are really looking for, if there's a pool, that there's going to be safety locks on the doors, or tools that are in the pool that if they detect a splash, that goes off an alarm. So it's wonderful things like that that can really help to make sure that everyone who comes to the Smoky Mountains has a safe and enjoyable experience. So we're glad that that implementation of the permit program is in place. So that's one thing that investors who come here really can have a sense of confidence that there are the resources and tools available to make sure their investment is not only going to be fun and profitable, but also safe.
Yes, yes, by all means. By all means. Jo, what are some of the things that someone has to do once they've got that overnight rental? What are some of those rules and regulations so that our listeners would know in case someone is wanting to get into to set up an Airbnb, for example?
Yeah, it's actually pretty well outlined for them. So there is a website that the County of Sevier has that you can go on and check out. It actually tells you all the details about what are the expectations for safety aspects, like smoke detectors and pool alarm detectors, and making sure that the structures such as decking is very well done, that there are escape routes from every level. You've probably seen some of the cabins around here that are 3 and 4 tiers on the side of a mountain, and that can look a little scary, but to be assured that there's going to be an escape route that's on a diagram on every floor, that you'll have access for every egress at each level. And those are some of the things that they're looking for. So all of those resources are available on the website of Sevier County Short-Term Rental. So that's a great resource for anyone considering doing rentals here in Sevier County.
Yes. Jo, do you actually have that website, that web address if someone should want or need it?
We could certainly give that to your listeners as well, but even if you just Google Sevier County Short-Term Rental, it does come up in the search, and it's super easy to follow those guidelines. It has a section for people who are looking to purchase a property, for those who are considering selling their property. I know many of the investors sometimes will want to have a cabin in Gatlinburg, and then another cabin in Pigeon Forge, and then another cabin in the mountains. And sometimes they are purchasing and selling them to maximize depreciation, and their CPA tells them after 7 years, maybe they need to go and expand, and they'll use a 1031 exchange opportunity to purchase one of the larger cabins. So all of that's available and really outlined quite well, as well as resources there. So if you've got a good real estate agent, they can guide you on where to find that information. And when you're searching for properties, that's a great thing if part of the property that you're considering proudly displays that their permit has been completed for each year. That's something that's not just a one-time thing. It is an annual renewal. And that's, again, another thing to have to talk to your agent about to make sure that of the properties that you're considering, that you're going to be one, again, that's not only going to be profitable, but it's going to be safe and be really enjoyable.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And you know, and you were talking about that the website. It does take you completely through it. I have a couple of Airbnbs myself. I don't manage them. I have someone to manage them for me. But it's very simple to go on the website and see what they require. And then to do those things, you know, first of all, I think you need a business license, and then you need to set up the Airbnb, and they'll send the fire marshal out to inspect your property. And if you meet all the criteria, then they will give you a permit. But if you do not, they'll tell you what you need to do. For example, when I set mine up, I bought the wrong size fire extinguishers. And with that being said, they told me, nope, this is what you need. And I did those things, sent them a picture of them and a copy of the receipts, and they were good with that, and they issued me my permit.
Absolutely. Yeah, the inspectors work very diligently. They started this in 2024, and they probably were overwhelmed with the amount of inspections that needed to be done and the follow-up, but they really have done an excellent job of keeping the foremost priority of safety of our tourism, as well as making sure that investors like yourself and others that are considering it are going to do the right thing for their properties and for the folks that are coming to enjoy our area.
Absolutely. And that's what you want. You know, you want to make sure that that permit is there, and that it is a legal, it is a legal venue, and you're good to go, because you're going to be safe and taken care of, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're so blessed to live in this area, and it really is a phenomenal opportunity for investment. And I know some questions that people have are, is it too saturated? Is there too many properties? And I don't think that's the case. Certainly there are lots of continuing new builds. There are certainly some of the traditional A-frame, original mountain alpine cabins out there that have kind of a rustic theme. So there really is a different taste for everyone. And I think that's something that the county has been very vigilant to make sure that the infrastructure is in place. And we all know the traffic can get a little crazy, but they are doing all of the right things for managing the roadways, the infrastructure from sewer and all of that types of aspects. So I think it's a wonderful place, and I would encourage others to consider doing an investment here or growing their portfolio.
Absolutely. You know, and that's the thing. You know, anytime I'm in traffic and I get a little agitated, you know, I just have to smile and say, you know, this is why my property taxes are so low. And then I'm good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I have folks that are relocating from all over the U.S. and coming to enjoy East Tennessee, whether that's for an investment property or maybe a second home or buying land that they might build on in the future, and all aspects. I think that why we have such a really strong economy and a strong market. And, everybody comes here and say, are you really happy in East Tennessee? Because I relocated myself and my husband just 5 years ago. And we are happy to say that we couldn't be more pleased with the people, how welcoming they are to other folks who have kind of relocated, and as well as the opportunities that are here for us, whether it's the 4 seasons, the very mild climate, and the low property taxes, the no state income tax, all of the things that really make us such a wonderful opportunity for either investing or for relocating and retiring in the area.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Kim, you're really quiet.
I,
What questions might you have for Miss Jo?
well, I don't have any questions. I'm learning. I love being part of this because I find myself learning so much about, an area that I've grown up in for many, many decades. But I find myself very uneducated about it. And I love hearing how responsible that Sevier County is as far as having the guidelines and things put in place, the safeguards, not only for the tourists, but like you said, for the owners. And you have a roadmap laid out for you of what you need to do for your investment. And I just think that that's really that says a lot about the county government that they've gone to that degree to have those bases covered. And I just it makes me love where we live even more. So yes, I am a little quiet. I'm taking it all in, but I feel like it's really cool to see that they care so much about not only the tourism but the investors that are in the area.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got a lot of great folks in county and city government. We really do.
Yeah.
And I'll just throw in the other partners in investment, whether that's property management companies. Those folks are really great about being able to do projections to kind of look at a property you might be considering and run comparables of what others might expect, whether that's your average daily rental rate or your occupancy rate or how much that you expect to have that cabin to be rented. And I am pretty honest and transparent with folks is that there has been a bit of an adjustment when we were COVID years and everybody and their mother were coming to this area and even setting up shop to work from remote. Those numbers were pretty high for occupancy. I mean, 85%. Would you agree, Terri? That was probably pretty common in occupancy at that point?
Yes, Jo. It certainly was because we were, we were one of the areas that we weren't really shut down. I mean, not compared to a lot of areas, and but we've got so much to offer, and cabins are they're not right on top of each other. They're individual dwellings, and so we just have a lot to offer that a lot of areas do not have. And I think that was the reason we were so busy.
And that was pretty unique at a time frame, but I also want folks who are coming into the area to have realistic expectations that those numbers were on a pretty high projection going up, and I would say we're probably back to the pre-COVID 2019 rates that are probably more in the 75% occupancy rate is a very strong performer. So I want folks not to be disappointed. I want them to have a real good understanding of being able to afford and to have a income that perhaps covers the financing. Perhaps they want to have like a reserve if there's going to be, maintenance. We always say like January is typically when the owners come in and maybe look at the cabin, do a deep clean, and maybe look for anything. Maybe they want to restain a deck or get a new jacuzzi or hot tub. So we want people to come in and have a very realistic expectation of how those numbers are going to work for them.
Yes.
And another partner that I think is pretty unique here in our area are the lenders that are local. Now, there are lots of places where you can get a loan and financing, but some of the things that our local lenders do, it's called a debt service DSCR loan, where basically if the property or cabin has a record of income, that the cabin itself can almost qualify for the loan. And that will allow people not to necessarily have to use their own personal credit history. So it's a unique product that many of our local lenders use that can really be attractive to some of the investors to consider. So DSCR loans are something to ask a local lender or ask your agent of some of the partners that are very familiar with that type of product, that might be a very attractive way to consider financing an investment property here.
Yes, yes, and that is, I'm glad you brought that up, Joe, because I was just talking to a lender about that the other day, and that's that in itself is quite a program. It really is.
Yeah, and so if you think about it, when you buy a personal home, you got to do your tax records, you got to do your W-2s, you got to do all of that kind of personal financing to demonstrate that you qualify. Where if you think about it this way, your cabin is going to qualify for the loan based on prior year history of the income. That's pretty sweet.
That is very sweet. Very, very sweet. Sure is. Sure is. So what else are you seeing out there in the market as far as rentals are concerned and that sort of thing, Ms. Jo?
Well, it is kind of shifting more to a buyer or investor market, I've got to say. What we're seeing is that there is a higher level of inventory. I know Gatlinburg, last time I checked, it had about 6 months of availability. Sevierville and Pigeon Forge a little bit less. So that tells me that investors are a little bit more in the driver's seat. When we first started in 2021, it was definitely a seller's market, and people were putting in multiple offers, and they were offering above list price, and they were doing appraisal gaps, and all of that was a little wild. I would say we are more stable, and that sellers are having to be more realistic in their list price. Sellers are more willing to do concessions. So if any of your listeners out there are considering doing an investment, I think the timing is great right about now.
Well, I think it is too, and I think that the market is starting to adjust itself from those days. Let me tell you, that was fun. The negotiation part of it was a lot of fun for me, but it was the craziest time. And oh my goodness, I would have hated to have been a buyer during that time because it was hard to find a property. I mean, you were in multiple offer situations every time you turned around. And I know I had a farmhouse listed, and I think I had like 18 offers in the first day on that, and it was just the wildest times. It really was. It was crazy.
It was. I mean, I'm glad that things are more stable, but when we compare our market or East Tennessee in general, we are still doing very strong, double-digit year-upon-year growth, so that when you are investing here, and especially now when you're with an experienced real estate agent who's going to help guide you on your choices and your negotiations, and to make sure that the purchase that you make is not only going to be a great return on your investment for short-term rentals, but long-term equity building. What a wonderful way to build a legacy for your home is to continue to not only have personal real estate property, but in addition, investment property that becomes sort of a portfolio that can really help families to build enduring wealth over time.
Well, absolutely, and and that is the best way to ensure that wealth is through real estate. I mean, it really is, and because the good Lord only made so much dirt, and I don't think He's making any more. So, with all that being said, real estate is a sure thing. I mean, it truly is, and in my opinion, has always been.
Mm-hmm. And again, we talked about local resources. Another thing that I don't know if all your listeners are aware of, 1031 exchange, and that's a real wonderful opportunity. I've had clients who have sold businesses out of state, and then they can continue to turn that proceeds into a local investment. It has to be in like kind. Doesn't mean it has to be a grocery store to a grocery store. It could be a grocery store to a short-term rental property. And then you can just push off the tax implication of your capital gain. And we've got title companies that have 1031 experts here on their staff. Foothills Title is one that I use quite frequently. The owner is an attorney, but also a 1031 exchange sister company as part of that. So again, find your realtor who's got great experience and has got a network of resources that we stay in our lane, right, Terri? We stay in our lane.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But it's our job to make the connections for the people that come and trust us to be that local expert. And you may not find that with someone who has experience in Nashville or Knoxville or dabbles in real estate. You really do want a Smoky Mountain expert. You want someone who is full-time, has the experience, has the knowledge, and I couldn't recommend anyone like yourself, Terri, who's been how many years in practice?
32.
All right. You've seen it all, and probably, I've been in it 5 years, but I say in dog years, it feels like 30. So I'm kind of right there with you in experience. Sometimes all the time it's fun. It's always learning, but I always like to draw upon other colleagues that have that experience. And I would encourage anybody who's coming to look for property is to really do their homework on real estate agents. Interview them, ask them their experience, and find out so that you trust in your partner that can guide you every step of the way. So I think that's probably my last takeaway for tonight is to really do your homework on your agent, make sure they've got the experience that you need in order to make all the right choices moving forward here in the Smokies.
Jo, I totally agree with you. I feel like if you're going to buy property in Sevier County, Jefferson County, find an agent that works those areas and that knows those areas, because here's the deal. Not everywhere in Sevier County, you can't put an overnight rental in a lot of areas in our area. So you need someone that can say, nope, that's a high density area, and I'm sorry, but you cannot do an overnight rental there. So, you need someone that knows the area and that's experienced and knows how to ask the right questions and how to find out the answers to those questions. Someone such as yourself, Jo, and because you're one of those folks that you don't stop until you find out the answer. I know that because you and I have done real estate deals together. We've been on the board of directors at Great Smoky Mountain Association of Realtors together. And I just know how you work. And if I weren't in this business, you would probably be one of the agents that I would definitely call and say, hey, I need your help if I were buying or selling something.
Well, thank you. I think the same of you. I think experience really matters in these times for sure.
Well, thank you so much. Jo, tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you, because we're just about out of time.
Yes. Again, my name is Jo Schultheiss, and I'm with the real estate firm. I have a website. It's called josold.com, jojosold.com. And I've got great resources there, investment property information, home buying for new people coming in, and just different market area if you're thinking about different towns and you don't know about the schools or all kinds. So there's a ton of resources there. There's lots of testimonials from my clients, and I've got a YouTube channel that you can take a listen and check out other properties. But I'd be happy to help you out. On my phone is 865-500-9895.
Great. Jo, thank you so much for being our guest tonight. You are just a treasure trove of information, and we certainly appreciate you. Ms. Kim, how can folks get in touch with you?
Folks can get in touch with me by phone at 865-660-8280 or the office at 865-694-8100 or email at kimaldridge@remax.net. What about you, Miss Terri?
Best way to get me is on my cell, 865-556-4111, 865-556-4111, or at the office at 865-401-0618. Ladies, we are out of time. We will see you folks next week here on the radio, 9:30 a.m., 105.5. Until then, have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.